Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's session. We have yet another Fountainhead Learner series. Now, these series are aimed at educating our users to understand the product better. So, we'll also be teaching you the basics of a lot of features that WebEngage has. Plus, we'll also be covering a lot of tips and tricks. Now, today's session is about SMS, which is a powerful channel to strengthen your omni-channel marketing. Staying up to date is the only way to be relevant in this growing global economy, right? And right now, I think the growth of mobile devices is contributing to an incredible amount of individuals being on the World Wide Web. This has paved way for mobile marketing. So, mobile marketing is nothing but reaching your target audience on their smartphones, be it tabs or mobile devices or anything else, via SMS, MMS, or other apps. A couple of weeks back, we saw how you can leverage WebEngage to launch your WhatsApp campaigns. And last week, we saw how you can do it using your web push. And today's session will be about your SMS. How can you use SMS to actually strengthen your omni-channel marketing? So SMS, this seems to be an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to building out any short-term or long-term mobile marketing plan. Now, today's customers are both very smart and cynical as ever, considering the availability of the worldwide information at their fingertips. So, therefore, communicating to them correctly is very critical for any good business to thrive. There's a very thin line of difference between over communicating and under communicating. With the rise of digital marketing, including social media or your instant messaging, chatbots, they're everywhere, and email marketing, it is very easy to overlook SMS messaging, which is a very powerful mode of communication for businesses in 2022. So, this slide is all about why SMS and why now. Now, these conversion rates speak for themselves. We have about 23 billion text messages, right? 23 billion SMS that is sent in a day. And if you look at the engagement rates, right? And not just engagement rates, if you look at the performance of SMS as a channel compared to email, the open rates or the click through rates is definitely comparatively higher compared to the email, compared to your email campaign. So it's 6 to 8x higher. It has got higher engagement rates compared to your email marketing campaigns. Not just that, I mean, it was, to me, it was very startling to know that 90% of users, 90% of our users actually prefer SMS over direct phone call. So just like WhatsApp, SMS is also one of the most preferred channels for customers to receive business notifications. So these conversion rates on the whole, right, speak for themselves. Additionally, 9 out of 10 customers would like to communicate with businesses through text messages. And also, SMS has got a high click through rate of 45%, which is like 5x times more than what you get in your email campaigns. That was about why it is very important to start using SMS in today's day and age, in today's digital marketing world. But up until now, I do realize that there's been a lot of skepticism around surrounding SMS marketing, and there are several myths. So let's just debunk them one by one, right? Because my intention is at the end of the session, you really need to walk out confident that SMS is your business will definitely stand to gain the benefits out of launching SMS campaigns, and you really shouldn't be falling for these myths. So the first one is it requires users to have a smartphone. Absolutely not, right? Because texting existed long before smartphones. So some marketeers, they just forget the fact that you don't need a smartphone to launch SMS campaigns. I mean, for your messages to reach your users, they're just concerned that SMS campaigns will never reach the target audience. But the truth is, 95% of the population today has some type of mobile phone. That means you will be able to reach just about everyone in your audience with an SMS marketing campaign, and not necessary that the person needs to have a smartphone. The second one is people across the globe have a misconception that SMS campaigns are expensive to launch. This is completely untrue. Even in my own experience, this is completely untrue. Because SMS as a channel of engagement is one of the most least expensive options available. The fact that it is primarily it's text based, right? You will save on a lot of fancy graphics created by a professional designer or copywriting or anything that is to do with it. So it is very, very least expensive in terms of all the other marketing channels to launch. And the third one is people think that it's just for millennials, and I really wouldn't. I wouldn't argue with this point. While it is true that younger millennial generation is known for favoring text over beat voice or face-to-face interaction, just about everyone texts these days, because over two-thirds of adults, and this is what the stats also say, over two-thirds of adults above the age of 50 own a smartphone. And out of these lot of people, 62% of them use it for texting. So I think it's high time we debunk the myth that SMS campaigns are only for millennials. And also the last one, people think SMS campaigns don't perform. That's absolutely not true, because most people assume that email is the best way to reach customers with a message. But the problem with email is it doesn't always get opened. Companies are lucky if they get about 10 to 20% of open rate. But contrast to that, SMS campaigns have an open rate that can be as high as 98%. And the click rate is also, like I said in the previous slide, it's 4 to 5x times more than what you get out of your email campaign. So definitely please don't fall for the myth that SMS campaigns don't perform. They do perform. And when you actually add it to your omni-channel marketing strategy, nothing like it. So in many ways, I think marketing has become a two-way conversation, right? Between brands and consumers. It is between you and your users. So companies leverage SMS as a part of their omni-channel marketing strategy. With that, you'll be able to build better relationships with your customers, your prospects, and ultimately I think the end goal is to make more sales and retain your customers. So text messaging is considered one of the strongest marketing channels, but it only, there's no good if you use SMS as a standalone channel. We are in the world where we're debating if it's omni-channel or multi-channel marketing strategy. In that case, it's always better to have SMS incorporated into your existing marketing omni-channel marketing strategy. Only then will it make it even stronger. So compared to email and social media, SMS, like I have been saying, it definitely has high deliverability and engagement. But using multiple channels together is always the strongest strategy, because there is no single platform that is ideal for all types of messages. As a business, you will have different use cases. You will have to send different types of messages to your customer, to different type of audience, in fact. So there's definitely no one size fits all approach. There's no just a single platform or a channel that's going to work for it. It's a combination of multiple channels that's what's going to strengthen and foster your omni-channel marketing strategy. It's more of like, if you start using just one channel, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, and it will not fulfill the whole potential of what your channels can do together. And as you can see from the slide, today we're focusing on SMS. So definitely using SMS is gonna, there's no doubt that it grabs your customers' attention. So the 50% of users, they prefer SMS as the channel for communication. And any omni-channel marketing campaigns, right? It's likely to have 47% more conversion if you incorporate SMS into it. Now, those are very few benefits. We've just scratched the surface of why it is beneficial to use SMS, but we'll see a lot more in the upcoming slides. Now, this has been like the biggest myth I have heard as a marketer, right? If you think SMS is a thing of the past, it is definitely not. It is. If you think it's not necessary to be a part of your marketing strategy because SMS is dead, well, you are wrong, and I stay corrected as well, because almost all the devices on the market today are SMS enabled. And that is the power of the reach that you have. It just expands your horizon of user reach. That's the power. That's why it makes SMS a really powerful channel to add to your omni-channel marketing. Now, let's see, there are a few steps for us to get started with. Let's see how you can launch these SMS campaigns using WebEngage. They're just very five simple steps. One, you need to choose your SMS service partner. I'll just make this very clear, right? WebEngage is going to help you create and launch your campaigns. But think of these service providers as middlemen who will facilitate the message from WebEngage to the mobile network operator of your user. For example, let's say you are an Airtel user. You will be launching SMS campaigns from WebEngage, but your service provider is going to help you facilitate the message from WebEngage to your user's mobile network operator. So that is why you definitely need to choose SMS service partner. And needless to worry, as you can see on the right, we've partnered with over 20, 30 plus global leaders in the service providers industry, SMS service providers industry. So you can just feel free to use any one of them and get started in no time. I'll tell you how you can choose your SMS service partner, and also how you can integrate it with your WebEngage account. On the left navigation menu under Data Platform, click on Integrations, and you'll be able to see the channel integration status here. We're looking at SMS, click on Configure. We already have a few SSPs that we've integrated with for this account, but I'll just show you what it is like to integrate for the first time. So these are the available SMS service providers. Just choose any one of them. Provide a name for your configuration. Let's say I'm going to use it for my promotional campaigns. You just provide a name for your configuration, and this messaging service SID will be provided by your account manager, that is your service provider's account manager. You just need to furnish that information here. Click on add SSP, and that's it. Your SSP will be added. I've already added Twilio as a service provider for us. I'll tell you how you can manage this configuration, right? So once you add the SSP, what if you need to make a few changes to it, few edits to it, or you really need to, delete, you don't need the configuration no longer, you need to delete it. It's very simple. So from the actions menu, just click on this overflow menu. You will find options to edit the configuration or delete it. Now webhook URL, you will be furnished with this URL upon adding your service provider. Now, why this will help you is you need to copy this URL from here and paste it to your service provider's dashboard, because that is when you will actually be able to start analyzing the performance of your SMS campaigns. So, in case at any given point you need to see what the URL is, you just need to click on the webhook URL here and you will be given the URL. So, that's how you integrate WebEngage account with your SMS service provider, and you also manage this configuration. The next step is whitelisting your SMS templates. Now, we saw this with the WhatsApp session as well. What you need to do is, since you have a middleman, right? WebEngage is directly not sending these messages to your users. There's a middleman. So you need to ensure that any message you send to your user gets approved by your service provider. It needs to get approved by any SMS service provider that you choose. I will just show you a very quick format of what it will look like. Hey, what you see here is the placeholder for using the user's first name. Your order ID, this is again a placeholder for specifying the order ID, is out for delivery. This is a very simple delivery update template. Track it here. I just have like a placeholder link here. Now, these are personalization elements that you add to your templates, right? You just need to upload this to your service provider, get it approved, and then you can start using these message templates when you launch your SMS campaigns. In a couple of minutes, I will also show you how you can use these templates while launching campaigns. But what really matters here is the point that you need to remember is, depending on which service provider you choose, they will have codes for each personalization element. Now, for example, if I'm talking about Twilio, for example, first name is a personalization token, but Twilio might have it as 123, right? So you need to ask your service provider, hey, these are the personalization tokens I would like to use in my message template. What is the corresponding code? Only then will the template get whitelisted. So if you learn from your service provider that for first name 123 is the code, you need to add it as 123, right? This is how you actually need to there's a bit of work that you need to do with your service provider in whitelisting these templates. Now, these templates need to be whitelisted if it's transactional or promotional. We will see more about the difference between these two in the next slide. But the second step is to get your templates whitelisted. Now, the third step we saw is to integrate your WebEngage account with your SSPs. And the fourth step is you need to get the opt-in from your users. If your users have given you your phone number, they've furnished your phone number, and they've opted in for receiving SMS updates through SMS, then nothing like it, right? You just need to create a segment with these users and you can get started. I will show you how you can create segments with these users. Click on segments and click on live segments. Right? So SMS, I'm going to name this segment as SMS opt-in users, where the whole rule of the segment is anybody who's opted in for SMS will be a part of this segment. The visitor type is all users. And just scroll down to reachability. They need to be reachable on SMS. Got it, right? So as I'm creating the segment, on the right hand side, you will be able to see a preview of this total users, known and unknown users. As you know, is there has to be some unique identifier for your business. If the user provides the unique identifier, then they categorized as known users, which is identified users, and unknown users are anonymous users. And the reachable users, this is the number of users who are actually reachable through SMS. Click on save. And that's how you create a segment for SMS, for users who've opted in for SMS. And the last step is creating, launching, and analyzing the campaigns, which I will show with the help of a few use cases so it's easier for you to understand. Now, we spoke about transactional and promotional. So, these are the two types of SMS campaigns that you can launch through WebEngage. I will explain the difference. See, transactional campaigns are these are just user lifecycle updates, right? For example, user has placed an order on your website. So, right from the time they've placed an order, you communicate the shipping date, the delivery date. At every stage of the delivery, you keep giving them updates, right? And users also expect at some point or the other, after they've performed an action on your website or app, they expect to receive such updates. Now, these are transactional SMS campaigns. These campaigns will be sent through your service provider's transactional messaging pipeline. So you need to be, upfront, you need to communicate if the SMS campaign you're sending is transactional or promotional. On the other side, promotional SMS campaign, like the name indicates, is anything that is promotional by nature. If you want to communicate offers or limited deals, anything through SMS, then you use promotional SMS campaigns. There's also another interesting aspect to these type of campaigns, which is if you want to nudge the users to perform a desired action, right? The biggest challenge that marketers are facing in the e-commerce industry is cart abandonment. So if you see that your user has added a product to the cart but has not really completed the checkout, then you have to nudge the user to complete the action. So when you want to nudge the user, you send them promotional SMS campaigns. So these type of SMS campaigns come handy when you want the users to reach their end goal, or you also want to communicate or convey anything that has to do with promotions like coupons or offers or anything. Now, these SMS campaigns are sent through the SSP's promotional messaging pipeline, while transactional was through the transactional messaging pipeline. Promotional will be through the promotional messaging pipeline. So for today's session, we'll see a couple of major campaigns, right? One is transactional. Now, these, like I said, are more of updates. You book a flight ticket or you book a train ticket or you book a movie ticket, you get a confirmation through your SMS that you can show to either check in or to enter, or you've placed an order. So you receive delivery updates at every stage. That is also a part of the transactional campaign. Or let's say you receive very important account related details in transactions. So that again falls under the transactional campaigns category. I will show you how you can launch these campaigns. So under campaign manager, click on channels and you will be able to find the SMS channel. So to create your SMS campaign, click on the plus icon. These are the type of campaigns, right? The four different types of campaigns. One time is you just send it once to your target users. As soon as it's delivered, the campaign ends. It's like a one-off instance. Triggered is it is triggered based on some event that your user performs. For example, I want to trigger this campaign only when the user adds a product to the cart. So that is when triggered campaigns come handy. Recurring is you have to keep sending it periodically on a periodic basis. It could be anything such as policy renewals, right? It happens on a periodic basis. So you can just configure a recurring campaign for that and you'll be good to go. Transactional is when you have like really critical, like I was explaining, right? Critical messages that you need to convey. Then you use the transactional campaigns. So right now I'll show you how you can trigger a one-off campaign type, right? Let's just consider flight booking confirmation. Campaign type is one time, and content type promotional. I need to be sending it only to the subscribed users in the audience. Or if you want to send it to people who have also unsubscribed, then go for transactional. The audience type is I want to send it to users in one segment, and the segment is SMS user segment, right? Now these are users who've opted in, reachable on SMS, as you can see. Save and continue. When do you want to send it to? You can also send it right away or you can schedule it. So let's just say I want to send it right away. Now these configurations, right? Frequency capping, DND, queuing, and throttling, it it is very important when you send SMS messages, because like I've always been saying, there's a very thin line between becoming intrusive and becoming too spammy, and also having a healthy count of messages that you send to your users. Now frequency capping is going to determine the number of messages that you can send to your users in a day or in a week or in a month. So you need to set the frequency capping limits. DND is, if your user has set the DND interval, right, like most of us do, then you ensure that you do not send messages to the user during the DND time. Now this is configured in the user's time zone. And throttling is, let's say you have to send the messages in a recurring manner, right? You just throttle and ensure that you space it out evenly. Like in a day you send no more than two messages. If they still don't respond, then the next day you send a couple of more messages. So in that way you have greater control over the frequency at which messages are sent. The next step is to draft the message. Choose You can choose the service provider from this drop down. Now sender ID, this sender ID will be provided by your service provider. You can always ask them to have a customized ID, because it needs to be very unique, and your users need to know that it's coming from your brand. So this could be anything alphanumeric or a string value. For now, let's say the sender's WebEngage, and the message that I want to send is, you have confirmed your flight ticket, so here's your the link for checking in. Hi. And the personalization token I'm going to be adding here is first name. Thank you for booking your flight. And the custom event here is type. Let's say you just want to specify the type of the flight they've booked at the flight time, event time, which is the flight time. Two, you add the destination, which is where are they going to. Kindly use this message to complete your check-in. Right? So this is what, as I'm typing, you could have seen that on the right, you would have seen a preview. This is what the raw preview looks like, but I'll show you how the user preview also looks like. I'll just use a test user in this case. Okay, we'll just see how it works. But normally what happens is, hi, in the place of first name, the user's first name would appear. And wherever you have these personalization placeholders, right, like custom event flight type, or if it has anything to do with the flight booking date, where are they going to, where are they flying from, all those personalization elements will automatically be mapped to the user that you choose. Save and continue. Okay, let's just maybe modify this message a bit. Thank you for booking your flight. To complete check-in. Let's see what this looks like. See preview. So as you can see, the personalization token I've used here is first name. But as soon as I mapped it to my user, this was just for test purposes. As soon as you map it to your user, the user's attribute value is what will appear. Save and continue. And the next step is conversion tracking. So if you want to track your conversion from this campaign, just turn it on. You can also test the campaign before you launch it. And the next step is to launch the campaign, right? This is a one-time campaign that you've launched for your transactional purposes, which is you've booked a movie ticket or you booked a flight ticket or anything. So you just have to convey the information to your user. The next one is your promotional campaigns. Now, these, like I said, could be your birthday or your seasonal offers, or most importantly, your cart abandonment recovery, or you have to remind your users for an upcoming examination or policy renewals. You just have to ensure that your users don't miss any important date, right? I will show you how you can do this. Let's just consider the example of cart abandonment in this case. You can create like an entire journey here. So click on journeys. abandonment. The first is occurrence of event, right? When the user performs an event, which is add to cart, add to cart, save, and they've not performed the check-in. So that's when you start sending them messages through your SMS. And before SMS, you can of course, in however you want to design the flow of your users, you can choose to add the elements accordingly. You can add the action blocks accordingly. If you want to send an email before that, anything, it's your choice. But in this case, we'll just see what it is like to configure your SMS campaign. So the next step is, upon adding to cart, you are sending an SMS. And what is this SMS like? Campaign. I'm sending it to the I'm only sending it to the subscribed audio users in my audience. Save and continue. Then it's going from WebEngage. Hey, first name. The item in your cart is soon expiring. Proceed to checkout, and you can give them the checkout link here. So this is what it will look like. Save and continue. You can just skip test and you can launch it. So that is how in a journey you're going to incorporate your SMS campaign, and on send or on delivery you can branch it out accordingly. In case it is delivered, or if it's failed, then you can reach them out through different other channels. So this is what I've been saying. SMS needs to be a part of your existing omni-channel marketing strategy, because it just strengthens, it just makes it all the more better, and your your probability of reaching out to users is also expanded. So this was another example. So as we're talking about promotional campaigns, I'll also show you a third example of how can you create triggered campaigns, right? So click on SMS under channels and click on. The second type is triggered campaigns. Triggered is when your user performs a specific action, you then trigger the SMS campaigns for them. In this case, again, let's just consider add to cart SMS campaign. This is triggered. I'm going to send it to users who have opted for SMS. Then continue. When? Now this is where you'll have to configure the event. Now I want to trigger a SMS campaign when the user has added a product to the cart, right? So the event that I'm looking for here is added to cart. Do you want to send it as soon as the event occurs, or do you want to wait for some time before you send the campaign? So here I'd like to wait for, let's say, 24 hours, and then you send it. You can also schedule it. Do you want to start, there's a, you can space it out. There's a start date and end date. Do you want to spend between do you want to send the SMS between a specified time interval? You can always do that. Frequency capping, like I've been saying, is it helps you control the frequency at which these messages are sent to the user. Save and continue. Again, it's the same. Choose your SMS service provider. You'll get the sender ID from your SMS service provider. Message is hi. Choose a personalization element. Noticed you have added. You can also choose the product. Added the product to your cart. Proceed to checkout. You can also let them know there's a limited offer, and it just creates a sense of urgency for your users. Go ahead, save and continue. Conversion tracking, test your campaign, preview and launch. So as you can see, the trigger, when the campaign type is triggered and the trigger event is added to cart, you wait for 24 hours before you send the SMS message. Launch campaign. So that is how you create your transactional and promotional campaigns using SMS, right? Now, we've been seeing a lot about the importance of SMS in your omni-channel marketing strategy. But today we live in a world where 4.13 billion people have access to the internet, but 5 billion people actually have access to and use SMS worldwide. This was the first slide that I'd shown you, right? 23 billion text messages are sent in a day. So there's been a growing trend around creating omni-channel marketing campaigns to level up your customer experience and build brand awareness. So omni-channel, it goes beyond just multiple channels to relay marketing messages. It's also about fully integrating it into a smooth and seamless experience so customers feel that they're listening only to one cohesive message. Ensure that you don't send different messages through multiple channels. It has to be the same message that you send through through all the channels. The example that we saw in today's session was add to cart. Your intention is to ensure that the user completes their end goal of completing the checkout. So that is just one message. There are different modes through which you tell them, different channels that you use, and it's all about reaching your users where they are. If they are in SMS, then you reach them out through SMS channel or WhatsApp or web push, anything. So you take your brand to where your customers are. So the secret to an effective omnichannel strategy is to use the right channels where your users are available. And one channel that many companies tend to overlook is SMS. So the importance of SMS in omnichannel marketing is just undeniable. We saw about how you can launch SMS campaigns. Let's also see how you can analyze these campaigns, right? So click on SMS, click on overview. This is how you will be able to I'll also show you the few important parameters that you can read while you analyzing your SMS campaigns. Click on SMS and click on overview. These cards reveal really important information. Now, reachability is the number of users who are reachable through SMS in your entire user base, right? And the users engaged is the number of users for whom you've sent at least one SMS campaign. And new subscriber is new users who've been added to your user base and who have given their phone numbers, have also opted in for SMS, which means you still have the opportunity to reach to 1280 users, and the revenue that's generated out of these campaigns is 125. So this is what these cards reveal: the reachability, how many users can you reach, how many users have you reached out to, how many users can you still reach out to, and what is the revenue that you've generated out of these campaigns. Now this is the same status by tags. When you scroll down, you will see that how many campaigns were delivered, what is the unique clicks, unique conversions, and the revenue generated out of these campaigns. The next section will show you the delivery failures, as in how many campaigns were delivered, how many messages were delivered to your users, how many of them were not. You can see the count here. The message was not delivered to 26,000 people. You will also be able to see the reason. There's a separate document that we have that will list all the generic reasons of why the message was not delivered. So you can look into it and you can troubleshoot it. Now, this section, right, as a marketer, this is my most favorite section, which is the engagement trends. At any day and time, when I launch the campaign, I will be able to see the clicks and the conversions that the campaign has garnered, right? Here you can see that on Wednesdays and on Fridays, I've had the highest engagement. Now, this is an inference for me that if I were to launch SMS campaigns, then Wednesday and Friday should be the ideal days because it naturally sees higher engagement rates. Now, the question is, at what time of the day do I launch these campaigns? As you can see, between 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., we've got the highest conversion rates from these campaigns. So if I were to launch the campaigns, I'd launch it on Wednesday and Friday, and the time would be between 4 to 8 a.m. in the morning. So these two reports, right, put together will let you know that SMS is not only the viable channel for you to engagement, but we also break down the details and will let you know which is the preferred date and which is the preferred time, which is very optimal for you to get higher conversions. The next one is the device type. You can always schedule these reports. So when you scroll to the top, on the top right, you will find an option to schedule the report. Frequency, you can choose to receive it daily, weekly, or on a monthly basis. What is the data that you would like to include? Is it for the past 7 days or the past 30 days? You can choose the date range. The granularity, do you want it at a variation level or do you want it at campaign level? When you choose campaign level, what happens is the detailed analysis for each SMS campaign you've launched will be chosen. Send to, you can always choose your mail addresses to whoever the report needs to be scheduled. So that's how you schedule the reports and you analyze the performance of SMS marketing campaigns. So that's about how you can incorporate SMS to your existing omni-channel marketing strategy, and you can create a seamless experience for your users. That brings us to the end of the session, and I'll be opening the floor to questions now. If you have any questions, just keep them coming our way. I'm happy to answer. I hope this session was helpful. I hope you'll now walk back to your organization with the thought that SMS is definitely a powerful channel, and it's always been it's a channel that most of us overlook because of a lot of myths we saw at the beginning of this session. Right, there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding SMS, but let's just not fall for any of these myths. SMS is a great channel, and when you actually incorporate it with when you club it with other channels, marketing channels in your organization, then nothing like it. If you have any questions, any concerns, or if you need help with something in launching SMS campaigns in your organization, please do let us know. Okay. There's a question. Can we know the source of all the figures quoted? Yeah, sure, definitely. At the end of this session, we will be sending you the presentation or cheat sheet, and you'll also be getting the source of all these figures that we've quoted. So there's can we break there's another question. Can't we break the reports by day or hour? So Rashmi, I'm assuming you're asking about the scheduled reports. You can of course break it by the day, and you can also choose the hours, like when do you want to receive these reports. And the next one is Manish is asked, could you also let us know the data source? I think it was the first slide that I had shown. Of course, like I said, you'll be receiving the presentation with all the data sources to it. The next question is there a batch processing where a defined volume of SMS is pushed out? Is there a limit? If yes, then does it depend on the SSP? I think to a certain extent, yes. But when you launch it through WebEngage, the controls that I showed you, right? Frequency capping, D&D, queuing, and throttling. These are the controls that will help you determine the number of messages you can send. But you can also you can also have a word with your SSP and see if they have some concerns or they have limitations. And the next question is, what is the difference between using triggered SMS and the journey configured for a particular event via SMS? Now, Padmini, this is a great question, right? Because when you use triggered SMS as standalone, there's just a very specific event that you're mentioning. And if your users perform this event, then you launch the SMS campaign, right? So, event, SMS. That's it. It stops there. But when you incorporate it as a part of your journey, it's an entire experience for your user. Let's say right from starting, add to cart was just an example that I showed. Otherwise, you can have anything. If a user enters a segment, for example, let's say user enters a particular geographical location, right? Once they enter Bangalore, and you want to start showing them all the recommendation tourist places there, where they can stay. So the entry trigger to that journey is they enter a geofence. Now this does not have anything to do with the event. As soon as they enter the geofence, they become a part of the segment you've created for Bangalore users. So once they're a part of the segment, you can start launching relevant campaigns to them that shows them recommendations or places they can stay or anything that is to do with travel and tourism, right? So that is the difference. With triggered campaigns, there's an event and it's very specific and you launch the SMS campaign. But when it's a part of a journey, it's like an entire experience from end to end. You can design the user flow journey, of which SMS is going to be a part of it. And the next question is, for one time bulk promotional SMS, apart from cart abandonment, can you suggest any other user segments? Yes, of course, yes. For one time bulk promotional, you can create a segment based on the gender of the user, and if you have very exclusive offers to that gender, then you can launch such campaigns for them. Or it can also have anything to do with there's a segment you can create when the user attribute changes, right? For example, if there's a change in the age, then if they cross 25 or if they cross 30, then you can show them promotional campaigns accordingly. So it does not have to be just cart abandonment. It could be anything. It could also be if you're from the edtech industry, and after students complete 10th standard, they'll have a change in the board, right? So that is again a segment for you to create. If the user attribute, which in this case is change in the board, if that changes, then you can target them accordingly. You can add them to a segment that is more appropriate for them. So those are the other few suggestions. But Arul, I'd really love to know which industry you're from, so I can give you more specific examples. Vedika asks, can you tell us about segmentation? So Vedika, I did like I've shown you how you can segment your users. There are a lot of rules of segmentation, right? Based on your user attribute or based on their behavior, based on the technology they use. There's several, I mean, it's very, very granular. You can define these rules of segmentation and create a segment. Now, segments can again be of two types, which is live segments or static segments. Live, it keeps getting updated in real time. Static, it's like, as the name suggests, you just upload it and then you will not be able to make any changes to it. That comes handy when you have to reach your users in offline targeting methods. But we definitely do a separate session on segmentations in depth. But I will of course share the recording where you'll be able to see more clearly on how I've created the segment. Got it. So I think those were the questions. If you have anything more, just keep them coming. Otherwise, thank you everybody for joining today's session.